All right, let's dive into a story that is, well, it's pretty wild. It's about one homeowner's fight against what he calls a foreclosure machine. And this journey, it starts with a single house in Idaho, but it ends up asking some really big questions about the justice system in America. And this quote right from the homeowner at the center of it all, Jeremy Bass, it just cuts right to the chase. It frames the entire conflict. The question he's asking is simple but profound. Is justice a right for everyone, or is it a service only for those who can afford to pay for it? So let's set the stage here. This is a classic David versus Goliath story. You've got an ordinary person, one guy, up against this massive network of powerful financial and legal institutions. And that's our David Jeremy Boss. He's trying to navigate this incredibly complex legal system completely on his own. That's a status called being a pro se litigant. Basically, he had to become his own lawyer, his own legal researcher, his own advocate, all while squaring off against a whole team of seasoned corporate attorneys. And, the challenge here is just immense. The courts in Idaho are super clear about this. If you represent yourself, you get zero special treatment, none. You're expected to know every rule, every deadline, every procedure, just like a lawyer who's been doing this for decades. The system absolutely does not slow down for you. So the conflict was already brewing, but it really escalated when the company servicing his mortgage, a company called Carrington Mortgage Services, or CMS, started taking some, let's just say, unusual actions that really kicked this whole thing into a higher gear. Okay, just think about that for a second. It's late 2021, and he gets a packet of loan documents in the mail dated 9 years earlier, from a time before Carrington was even involved with his loan. Bass, understandably, refused to sign. He was worried he was being roped into some kind of mortgage fraud. And that refusal led to an even more alarming offer. So, what do you think the price tag was for his signature on these papers he believed were fraudulent? What was the value they placed on getting him to just play along? $100. That was it. For Bass, this wasn't just insulting, it was a massive red flag. It signaled to him that this wasn't about finding a real solution, it was about pushing paper through the system, no matter what. And, beyond that alleged $100 bribe, Bass claimed there was this whole pattern of mismanagement. His forbearance period under the CARES Act, that was the federal program meant to help homeowners during the pandemic, was apparently stretched way past the legal limit. A $1,500 fee was tacked on just for paperwork. And maybe the most alarming part? His debt was actually growing, even while he was trying to work things out. Okay, so all of this stuff is building, and it's all leading up to the foreclosure sale itself. And this is where Bass alleges the whole system was just rigged right from the very start. It was never just one company he was dealing with. Basquez's case involved this whole web of interconnected businesses that seemed to work together like gears in a single massive machine. And this right here formed this deeply interlocked ecosystem. It's all happening within Idaho's non-judicial foreclosure process, which means most of it happens outside of a courtroom. You've got the servicer, CMS, kicking it off. They appoint a trustee to handle the sale, which is then managed by a law firm. And who snaps up the property at the end of the day? 2 venture capital firms. And this brings us to that term foreclosure mill. It really does suggest an industrial process, doesn't it? It's used to describe law firms that just churn through foreclosures in huge volumes, often using boilerplate forms and automated procedures. The big concern, of course, is that in this rush for efficiency, the rights of individual homeowners can just get crushed in the machinery. So eventually, the fight did move into a courtroom. But for Baz, the courthouse didn't feel like a place for justice. It felt more like an insurmountable barrier. This sequence basically trapped him. Here's what happened. The other side introduced brand new arguments at the very last minute in their reply. So Bass tries to respond with what's called a surreply. It's basically a reply to their reply. But the judge refused to even look at his documents, saying there's no provision for there to be a reply to a reply. Because of that one procedural ruling, the judge never even saw his evidence on some of the most critical issues. But there was this one moment, or really a lack of a moment, that came to symbolize the entire case for Bass. It became a cornerstone of his appeal. So, get this. The opposing lawyer makes a statement about Bass's payment history that Bass knows is just flat out false. He stands up. He does exactly what you're supposed to do in court. He says, "Objection, Your Honor." And the court's response? Silence. Absolute silence. The judge didn't rule on it, didn't ask for any clarification, didn't even acknowledge he'd spoken. The hearing just rolled on, leaving that false statement hanging in the air, completely unchallenged on the official record. And this expert view really highlights the core problem, doesn't it? Court rules are supposed to make things fair and orderly. But from Bass's perspective, in this case, those same rules became a weapon. They were used to block his evidence and totally silence his defense, which meant the court never actually got to the heart of the matter. And this is why this one case in Idaho matters so much, far beyond just its borders. This is about way more than a single piece of property. This isn't just about a house. It's about these huge fundamental principles. Does every single person have a right to be meaningfully heard in a court of law? Can a regular citizen actually get a fair shake against a team of high-powered corporate lawyers? Are there any checks and balances in the system to protect people? You see, his appeal stopped being just about saving his home. It became a direct challenge, asking whether due process, that fundamental right to fairness we all supposedly have, is only really available to people who can afford to hire a professional to get it for them? And that's the really provocative question this whole case leaves us with. When the rules of the game themselves prevent the truth from ever coming to light, has the system lost its way? It's a question that strikes at the very heart of what we believe our legal system is supposed to stand for.